Right, hi everyone. Nick Holland, Sports Car Global, with Dan Walmsley, team principal at Strakka Racing. Afternoon, Dan.
Good afternoon, Nick. How are you keeping?
I'm keeping well. Yourself?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Yeah, busy obviously between the Le Mans test day and the main event, so yeah, we're quite busy, but back in the factory and looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a good time and very good of you to set the time aside to talk to us.
No problem at all. Anytime.
No problem. So, test day. How did it go? How's your job sheet looking?
The job sheet itself is probably fully ticked with the exception of one thing. We had the objective of going there, signing off a few systems on the car, new engine in the car for Le Mans. It's the first time that we've actively run the low downforce kit for Le Mans, so running through some setup options on that. And also Dunlop bring 3 compounds of tyres for us to try, so we've gone through those and tried combinations and setup options. And yeah, we're quite happy with what we saw. The only thing we didn't succeed in ticking off the list was a new tyre on at the end of the day, which as we were doing, the red flag came out. So yeah. I don't think we set a representative lap time, but we're old enough and experienced enough at Le Mans to know that the test day counts for nothing, and it would have been nice to have posted a time, but ultimately the most important thing is getting ready with setup and tyre options and so on, which we've done and we're very happy with.
Good stuff. I take a little look at the data that we're provided with, and I sort of counted 40 laps in the morning that I would have said were valid, good laps, and fewer in the afternoon. Was that an indication of how you'd managed to progress through your work?
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment. I mean, the morning, historically, the morning tends to be a bit sporadic. The track's very green. It's, they obviously close the local roads to create the bulk of the circuit, and so it creates a surface that's not the best for testing on. But nevertheless, we all get out there and get on with the job. But that greenness of the track tends to create a few curveballs and red flags and things like that. But I think collectively the paddock had a very good morning. We got a lot of laps done, and then in the afternoon, as you say, it was just a bit more sporadic. We had a few incidents with people going off, a few full course yellows as the race director tried to manage the marshalling system and those kind of things. These are all the kind of homework things that everyone has to do ahead of the main event. And it does mean that you probably don't quite clear the workload you'd like to in the afternoon. But I mean, we're very happy with what we got done. And as I said, the only thing that really impacted on us was that we were just about to start our new tyre run on low tanks in the afternoon. And I think there was an incident at the first chicane which damaged the Armco barriers, and they had to red flag it. So that's the only bit of the job that we didn't get done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not just the teams that are getting ready. It's always Le Mans. Sometimes seems like the organisation is it's the first time they've run it, even if we are running the 80th plus.
I wouldn't say too much on that one. I mean, to be honest, it's a huge event. It is in my opinion the biggest race in the world. If we're talking about football, you're going to see 300,000 people there. You've got a grid of 60 cars this year. It is a huge logistical undertaking for everyone. And so whether it be a driver preparing himself, a team preparing themselves, the organisers, the race director, it's a huge undertaking. And that's what the test day is about. I don't think we should place too much emphasis on what the outcome is. We saw Audi pit Porsche at the end, but I think it's all to play for, and I still think Toyota are in the mix for that as well. So I think the day was a success for everyone. We went through a lot of checks and preparations, and everyone's looking in good shape.
Yeah, absolutely. Saw good consistency across the Strakka drivers of Johnny Kane, Danny Watts and Nick Leventis. Looked like at the end of the morning you did actually get a bit of a quick run in with was it Johnny Kane? I saw 8 laps at 3:43, which looked pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean Johnny. We have to take our hats off to our drivers. All 3 of them have done a really really good job. Danny and Johnny are our 2 platinum professional drivers, and they both did a good job. Johnny posted a quick time at the end. He just got some fairly clear laps, but it was on full tanks and our non-preferred compound. We were just trying a compound variation. But nevertheless, the time was, I think, solid enough for us to have some optimism for what we're doing. So no, Johnny did a good job. Danny put some hard yards in. I think Danny did more laps than any other driver. And of course we've got Nick, who's our silver, in inverted commas, gentleman. I consider Nick more of a sportsman driver nowadays. He's obsessively fit. He works very hard in testing outside of it. But he was competing. He was lapping at very competitive lap times alongside the other silver guys. So we're very happy with that.
Yeah. I mean, I had Nick averaging probably 3 to 4 seconds on a 13.5 kilometre circuit is pretty good.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the other thing is that, as you say, 3 to 4 seconds it sounds a lot on a typical Barcelona F1 track, but when you consider it's a 13-kilometre Le Mans track, it's we're looking at 3-minute 40 kind of lap times. That's really respectable for a guy who didn't even drive a racing car till he was 27 years old. So no, yeah. We're really impressed with Nick and the work he's putting in at the moment.
Good. So just moving on from drivers, we could talk about driver rankings, but let's not do that. We've only got so long. Looking at the settings on the car then, do you aim to find settings that are more for comfort or pure outright performance? It's a 24-hour race, a long way. Just give us a feel for that.
Yeah, everything in racing is a compromise, whether it be how much money you spend on developing the car versus how much money you go testing versus how much money you spend racing. Everything's a compromise. And Le Mans is the best example of the ultimate compromise in racing. You're looking for a car that is phenomenally quick. That's what you need. You need to be quick on the straights, some very, very long straights. I think each straight is about 1,500 metres long, 1,600 metres long. So you're looking at Monza length straights 4 times on the lap. But you've got sections like the Porsche curves, the Dunlop S's that require a car with poise and balance and agility that allows the driver to feel comfortable but yet on the edge. So yeah, you're really looking for this complex blend, and I think over the years it's become more and more competitive. I think maybe 15 years ago you'd have looked at just bringing the car home. That was the name of the game at Le Mans. But nowadays it's a 24-hour sprint. The guys are on it from the second they get out of the pit lane until the end of the stint. So the guys have done a really good job. I have to say the engineers have not worked as hard as I've seen them in the time that we've been working here, because at Spa we didn't have the best of race weekends. We did a lot of soul searching, but we've gone back to Le Mans, and the car was really good, really forgiving, really balanced, and I think given a new set of tyres and low tanks, we'd have posted what we could actually have done. So I think we're in a really, really nice place with it.
Yeah, and I mean we shouldn't forget also it's less than a year since you've been hands-on with the Gibson, isn't it? It was Nürburgring last year.
Absolutely. Well, if I can be brutally honest, we really only got to grips with the Gibson over the winter. We took the Gibson on after Le Mans. It was a very, very quick process to get it together and get it sent on the flyaway races for the tail end of the year. And our engineering team over the winter have really had the chance to go through the processes that they consider to be the standard prep for a race car. So I'd have said really since the close of last season, we've had the opportunity to really dissect the car, understand what makes it tick, and I feel that, as I say, we didn't have a great Spa, but if you look at Silverstone, the lap times there, the consistency there, the times of the guys in the pit stops, everything like that, I think we've demonstrated again that we're right back on our A game.
Yeah, and in terms of just coming back to it being a 24-hour race, how does day-night, changing temperatures, the condition of the track, how does that impact how you set the car up?
Well, you have to set the car up to be a compromise for all of the conditions you've listed. I think one of the things people talk day to night, that's not the biggest issue, if I'm honest. That's the biggest issue for the drivers. We have to set the headlights up correctly so that as it transitions from twilight into dark, that the drivers can pick out their apexes, they know where the braking points are, all those kind of things. That's the biggest transition from day to night. For me, the biggest thing is that as you get into the early hours of the morning, we're talking 2, 3, 4 a.m., you get this dew point coming where you get some moisture in the air which starts to settle on the track, and it changes the dynamic of the track. And you probably have to change compound of tyres. The setup of the car has to be sympathetic for that. So although it's not the be-all and end-all, we do keep one eye on that section of the race from the sort of middle of the night, the dead hours where it's really everyone's soul searching, whether it be the engineers on the pit wall who are shivering cold, the mechanics who are falling asleep in the garage, the drivers who are struggling to keep their motivation up. That's the period where the car needs to be right. and be able to adapt to those awful track conditions where it's low grip, sliding around a bit. And then, of course, the sun starts to come up and you get that happy hour about 5:30, 6 o'clock where the track's rubbered in, the sun starts to come up, the daylight comes, everything helps the car be quick, the drivers be quick. So, yeah, it's got to be adaptable, but it's the team who finds the right blend and balance of that setup compromise that probably ultimately comes out the best. You know, what was very clear at the test was that the Orekas are phenomenally quick. I don't think that's been a secret all year. But whether they'll have that speed over 4 stints or not, we'll find out. You know, that's what it's going to be about. If the Orekas can hang on for 4 stints, they will be very tough to beat. But the Gibson is light on its toes. It looks after its tyres, and we expect in stints 3 and 4, that's when the car will come into its own and hopefully be a challenge for the other guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're on Dunlop rubber, so hopefully it is very good for the 3rd and 4th stints. It's got good longevity about it.
Absolutely. I mean, Dunlop did a lot of work over the winter. We were part of their development program. We stayed on in Bahrain after the end of last season and did a lot of work on the tyre. And yeah, they've certainly made a tyre that's it's a lot more durable. I mean, it was always a good tyre last year, but it's taken a significant step forwards in durability, braking stability, and kind of limit breakaway at the rear that's helped the gentleman drivers also cope with the limit handling of the car. So it's a good product what Dunlop have developed.
And probably the right time now to bring up weather. What is Dunlop's weather tyre options? What are they like?
Well, the 3 slick tyres they bring, they brand no longer as soft mediums and hards or soft mediums and medium pluses as we've traditionally known. So we have an A, B and a C, and they're really targeted at temperature ranges. So I think we'll see most people running one of those tyre specifications, and that'll be fine for the dry. And then also we've got their intermediate and full wet. Last year the intermediate is a fantastic tyre. The full wet was a little bit difficult last year. We saw races like Fuji where it started behind the safety car, and all the teams really had to choose the Inter, even though it was monsoon wet, because the Inter was a better tyre for those conditions. Dunlop have gone away, they've worked hard on it, and we've now got a good full wet tyre. So I think we've got a tyre for all conditions. But the problem is it's a one-make formula in that respect. Obviously, Dunlop pretty much dominate the LMP2 tyre supply chain. So we've got the same options as everyone else. So there's very little opportunity to try and outthink your rival with that, really.
Yeah, I think a lot of that with, again, the 13.5 kilometre distance, it's going to be down to driver judgment as to when to hop on and when to hop off particular tyres.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw in 2013 we were lucky enough to win the LMP1 Privateers trophy in 2013, and a large proportion of that was making the right tyre choice at the right time. And some of that comes down to when you pass the pit entry. You know, you pass the pit entry at 1 minute and suddenly it starts raining. You can be 4 minutes into a nightmare. So the weather at Le Mans plays a huge part at the moment. The forecast isn't looking the best, but clearly still it's a long range forecast, so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm a big favourite on just looking outside and seeing what it's like.
You can't be the old-fashioned methods, can you?
No, absolutely. So in terms of preparation, sort of this I kind of think of as a quiet week, and then it builds up, doesn't it? How's it for you?
Well, I guess to the public eye it does, but to be honest, it doesn't relent. We're back at, you're speaking to me now, I'm in the factory. We've got a whole engineering team. Today we've had all 3 of our drivers on our in-house simulator. Everyone's working very hard on understanding what we did at the test. You know, there's a large part, I think people think about simulation and simulating being looking ahead to what you're doing, but we put a lot of emphasis on validating what we've done. Did what we predicted would happen tie up with what actually happened? So we've had Johnny, Danny and Nick in today. They've all done a lot of laps on our simulator. So the engineering team and drivers have worked exceptionally hard in the UK, and our mechanicking staff are still out in France at the moment, and they're going through building up spare bodywork, spare upright suspension, servicing pit equipment. We need everything to be absolutely ready. So yeah, it's probably the quiet week to the outside world, but probably as busy as we know it of any other time in the year.
Yeah, and we all know about good preparation, what it leads to. So you can never have too much, can you?
Absolutely. No, I mean, it's the only thing you can do to put everything in your control. I think racing will always lean largely on luck. Sometimes you can do everything right and things just don't work for you. But if you do everything right, you put yourself in the best position to get the best result, and that's what we try and do at Strakka Racing.
Yeah. I notice in terms of pit allocation, you've got your usual neighbours on one side, and then you've got some noisy neighbours from across the sea on the other. I think Labour competition with their Corvette and the IMSA Corvettes.
Well, let's not be too harsh on our British neighbours as well. They're fairly noisy as well. We seem to have found ourselves with decibel problems on both sides. But no, the reality is that the WEC paddock, the Le Mans paddock, is a phenomenally integrated place. Everyone looks after each other, and it's nice to have these guys around us, and we all help each other out. I think the one benefit we've got is we've got a nice clear run into our pit box in terms of LMP2 cars. The GTs and the P1s, P2s tend to be a little bit out of sync in terms of stint length, and so my expectation is we should hopefully have a fairly clear entry and exit from our pit box when it comes to the pit stops. But yeah, I mean, in terms of neighbours, let's be honest, there's a team either side of us, but we're a 60-car paddock, and we love each other. We all work together, and if people are having problems, we'll try and help them. I'm sure they'll try and help us. So that's what Le Mans is all about.
Absolutely. You've covered the question that I was leading to, which was timing of GT pit stops and your own pit stop. So as you say, you'll get a nice run in and run out as long as Labour and Aston Martin don't run into any particular issues.
Exactly, as long as they behave themselves. But knowing them, they like to get their elbows out and have a bit of a scrap. So we'll see what happens. But I think we're in a good location. We're kind of halfway down the pit lane. Good opportunity to see what's going on in both directions. Good run in and run out. And I mean, if you look for small benefits, that's what you get. On the counter side, the garage we've got is just one of those Le Mans things. We've got very limited access, very limited storage because of the fire lane behind us. But some years you get a favourable rub of the green, and other years you don't. But I'd rather have the on-track benefit than the off-track.
Yeah. So then we move through all that period of preparation, and we get to practice and qualifying on Wednesday and Thursday next week. I mean, subject to the weather, how much is that just about fine-tuning and just making sure everything is, fitting perfectly together?
Yeah, I'll go back to my previous point about compromise, really. It's a bit of everything. We've got 4 sessions, 3 of which count as qualifying. We have to qualify the car as competitively as we can. The weakness, if I can use such a harsh word on the Gibson, is that its straight line speed is not as strong as the other LMP2 cars. So passing people is a problem. So in that respect, you want to be as far up the grid as you can. But let's be honest, it's a 24-hour race. It doesn't really matter. The main thing that happens is you stay out of trouble, you lap at a good pace, you get your pit stops right, and we have an internal mantra at Strakka, which is a bit like a round of golf. You play your own game. You don't worry about what everyone else is doing. You just play the game you know you can do, and at the end of it, if your game's good enough, you'll be in the box seats for a podium or a win if fortune favours us. So we'll go through the process. Obviously, we've got some more setup things we want to try. We will be putting some new tyres on it and low tanks to try and get the car up the grid. But the main thing is getting the car into the race in good shape with a nice adaptable setup that takes us through, dry, wet, night, dew, everything else. And then we'll just run the race at our own pace that we feel is the right one to get the best result.
Super. One last bit of techie. I recall speaking with Danny about the engine at Spa, and I think it was either Danny or Nick. I think that was a way under investigation as to what the issue was with it. Have they come back on that yet?
Yeah, I mean, the Nissan engine has been a phenomenal backbone of LMP2 since 2011 when it went to the cost cap regulations. And engine failures are unheard of. We've had a couple of issues. We had one in Bahrain at the end of season test, and then one again at Spa. We've also seen some symptoms between now and then of just, suspect oil pressures and so on. So there's been a lot of investigation. I have to say, we have to take our hats off to Nissan and to Gibson, who have really worked relentlessly to find what's going on there, and we feel it's a culmination of lots of little factors, and we've changed all of those little factors to try and rectify it. And certainly the evidence we've had from the test day is that we've got on top of the problems, and that we should be okay for the race. But obviously that's something we'll be keeping an eye on with particular interest.
Sure. Currently looking at a picture of the car, which one of our photographers took with Danny at the wheel. I think it's at Spa. It really does look a glorious colour scheme, even if it is predominantly contrasting black and white. Noting a number of new sponsors on the car. So Dell, a notable name from the corporate world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, firstly, to pick up your point on the livery, I mean, Strakka, we always like to be a team who, at the top of our list is to be professional, to leave no stone unturned, technically, engineering-wise, driver preparation. We try and do everything correctly. But we also like to be a team that does things differently, and we just looked at what the liveries were of everyone else last year, and it just felt like, a lot of the cars just blended into one. Certainly if I look at the LMP1 manufacturers this year, there's certainly not any kind of radical differences between them. So we wanted to be a car that stood out on track, and okay, black and white might be a little bit understated, but with the bright day glow flashes that are synonymous with Strakka nowadays, it really adds some presence to the car. So we wanted a lot of on-track presence, which we've done with the livery. But we've had to look at where the commercial environment is for motor racing, and we really were keen to bring key technical partners on board this year. It's no longer a sport where you can just turn up and win. You need good commercial backing, but you need technical partners who can also add not just money to your racing budget, but also business process, technical expertise, added advantage that you can bring that will help you get an advantage on track. So as you mentioned, we've got quite a few sponsors have come on board this year. Dell is probably the most prestigious of those, a huge global technology company, and we're really flattered that they want to work with us. It was an awful lot of work to get them on board, and we're working very hard with them. They want to take us to the next level and help push us forwards as a race team and as a business. Zero, one of the fastest growing tech companies in the world, online accounting, I think, founded in New Zealand, but they're a global company now with presence in the UK, in the States, and they really see a benefit in, what they can add to a small motor racing outfit in the UK and show how they can help with our business processes. So there's a real message in there for them and for us. But we've also got some emerging companies such as Ravenol, our lubricants partner. In the global oils sort of league table, they're not high up there, but they're a company who are putting huge resource, huge R&D into their product and moving it forwards. And we've been lucky enough for them to want to work with us. We're working very hard with them, and we're seeing benefits of that on track and off. Even some of our smaller sponsors, we've got HW Studios. This is a company who develops simulator track models. They are working with us with our in-house simulator to try and refine some of the best track models in the world. They are LiDAR laser scanning F1 simulator models. These really are the best you can get, and they're working very closely with us to make sure that what we can do in our pre-event preparation on the simulator is second to none. So very lucky. We're quite happy that the car looks good on track, but the main message underneath it is that we're actually more happy with the people we're working with and the benefits that they're bringing to our team and the results we're seeing from it.
And it is fascinating as well that each of those is a sponsor, but also they're a partner in the business. They've got some skin in the game, not just monetarily, in seeing the car do well and seeing the business do well, which is a great proposition.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a belief that I think your traditional sponsorship models don't work anymore. If you go right back to the dawn of sponsorship models with gold leaf on the Team Lotus cars or whatever it may be, I think money for stickers is not the way forwards anymore, and it needs to be a coherent message of what their company brings to a small operation, because it's a clear message, it's a clear statement to the outside world of we have helped this company develop their own on-track results, which is there for the world to see. I mean, we're one of those unfortunate businesses that has to do our business on track very publicly every few weeks on a Sunday. And if we don't do our business well, it's very clear for all to see. And if we do our business well, it's clear for all to see. So these people want to work to show that their input, what they're working towards us with, helps us deliver on track, and that's really the sort of the alteration of sponsorship model that we've been working with on these programs.
Yeah, and then I mean, you've also just to close things out, you've done the wonderful thing of turning your end plates over to 50 of the finest social media and Strakka fans out there.
Well, there's a really nice blend to be met here, but we are so grateful of the support we get from the fans, the people on social media. Our home race is Silverstone, but there's a huge pilgrimage heads down to Le Mans every year. There's probably 100,000 of the fans that attend the race are from Britain every year. And, we've run the Union Jack on our car with pride every year. When we had the gearbox failure last year with the dome, the support we got from everyone who wanted and wished as well, to get to the end of the race. We just wanted to repay that a little bit. So, our PR guy had this idea. He thought it would be really nice to reward some of the guys who've supported us along the way. And 50 of the names of our sort of closest supporters will be running the full race on the car with us. So we're really proud of that. And we're just hopeful that these kind of initiatives let the guys who are stood on the banks with the Union Jacks, and whether it be a Strakka cap or even just an intent to see the British teams do well, we want to say thank you very much for that support, because we do feel it. It's a really grueling race, and there are times when you're searching your soul thinking, why do we do this every year? And it's those little gestures that we get from the fans that kind of add up towards a worthwhile exercise. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely, and I mean it is so in keeping with the rich tradition of Le Mans, the close association between teams and those behind the fence. So I know it's wholeheartedly appreciated by everyone involved. Okay, thanks for your time, Dan. I know it's a busy time, etc., and we will see you hopefully on pit lane at some stage in the coming week.
Nick, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you talking to us, and please come down and see us during the race. We'd really look forward to seeing you and having a chat with how things are panning out. And thanks again to all of the supporters who are hopefully going to cheer us along and bring home a good result for Strakka.
Will do. Cheers, Dan.
All right, thanks, Nick. All the best.